Welcome, everybody, to another College Esports News broadcast. I am Chris Roman, a.k.a. Slim, head coach over at Keiser University, and I'm joined by my co-host, Gabe Slim. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Coach Gabe Slim, like Slim over here said. I am the head coach of Keiser Jacksonville, also the manager and assistant coach for our Premier VALORANT roster.
Sick. So let's just jump into it. What do we talk about, Gabe?
We're going to go over all of our top CVAL teams. So I know you've been posting power rankings here for the past few weeks. We're going to jump in. We're going to go over the top programs and go through as many as we can, announce our top 10 into our honorable mentions, and try and go as deep into what we think the top teams are this year.
All right. Sounds good to me. So let's just jump into it. Do you want to go first? Should I go first?
I think if we're going, do we want to go top down or bottom up?
I think, that's spicy. Let's go bottom up. I like that.
Bottom up? Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, let's start with honorable mentions then, right? Because there's a lot of good programs out there, and I really want to try and shout out as many as we can. I think one we can talk about real quick is VVT. You know, really good program. Really, really talented players. A bunch of Radiant players, ranked grinders, definitely shooters. But they're kind of unproven, right? It's a new roster for them. They had to unfortunately forfeit their match against UST, which really would have been a good measuring stick. So it's really kind of hard to see where they're at. So I didn't feel comfortable putting them in my top 10, but that's a good program.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been keeping an eye on the VVT guys. As I recall, I think either all 4 or all 5 players are in Radiant, or at least Immortal 3. And I'm in the same boat, honestly. I feel like this team has been untested for the most part. The UST game I was really looking forward to and seeing how they performed and what that was, what that benchmark would look like. But that game was a forfeit loss for them. And then we were going to look at the playoff match to get another kind of like litmus test. And again, that was another forfeit win for them over Charlotte. So a lot of these guys have been active. If you look at their trackers, you know, they're, like you mentioned, rank grinders. So
no, absolutely. I guess if we stay in like kind of the South Division, TAMU is another one, right? I mean, they're champs in 2024, I think third last year, right? So really like high esteemed program. You know, they went on the UST pain train as we all did in the South this season. Obviously, UST got ranked dead last, which is so weird that they got placed there. And they've just been making everybody pay for it. They've been playing with a chip on their shoulder. But everybody else, you know, TAMU has dominated. They're always going to be a contender, so really looking out for them. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, TAMU, like you mentioned, 2024 champs. So, I mean, I feel like the only reason that I don't have them, I actually have them in my top 10, but I think it's they're carrying a little bit of that legacy from 2024, in my opinion. I mean, the team has had a little bit of a slow start from 2025, and now going into this season, they look good this season. But again, I think it's another team that didn't really get challenged too much throughout the regular season. So I'm excited to see what the playoff matchups will look like for them. And I mean, they have a roster full of guys that have tons of tier 3 experience, and I think they might actually have some challengers guys on that roster as well. So I'm very interested to see how they look, but I do have them in my top 10.
Okay. Well, I don't want to spoil too many of your top 10. So
right.
You know, Boise's one. They're always good, always, you know, around. Never quite gotten there, right? But they're always really solid program, really well coached, really well drilled. So excited to see where they go. Another one who I don't know if you have in your top 10, but I definitely want to shout them out is Missouri Baptist. Their JV team specifically. Their varsity team's been taking some beatings over in the gosh, I forget what partnered conference they're in off the top of my head, but they've really been, I think, Midwest. They've been taking some bad losses there, but their JV team played Baker real tough. I mean, I think it was 11-13, 14-12, and 13-15. So that's a slugfest against one of the top programs in the country. So shout out to MBU for sure. So with that, I think we maybe get into the top 10.
But I've got a couple other top honorable mentions I want to highlight. My top 10 might be a little bit different from yours. So I do want to give a shout out to the boys over on Constate Condors. I mean, they're kind of a team that was like very like below the radar, like really haven't seen much from them. You go check their VLR page. I don't even think they're listed as inactive right now.
Oh, wow.
But they did come in and like upset a few teams, namely St. Clair. They put a beating on St. Clair, who was originally at the beginning of the season was in my top 10. I think I had them as like my number 4, 3 or 4. But I mean, but that's, I mean, a decent segue into my other honorable mention, which would be St. Clair. I mean, the St. Clair Saints are always like, they have been a legacy within collegiate esports. It is a program that always puts out quality. So I was really surprised to see the turnout they had against the Condors. I mean, they've been doing all right throughout the rest of the regular season, but it's really hard to kind of overlook that this relatively no-name school comes in and puts a beating on these guys who are competing in the Division 1 league, typically do well in amateur and tier 3. So I was just really surprised to see that. So it was another reason that it knocked them out of the top 10 for me specifically. Two more I want to mention though.
Okay.
Harrisburg, always a school that's always in the conversation. I think they were just shy of top 10 for me this year, because I feel like they're again another team that kind of went untested when they do play some decent competition. I think they did take one loss this season to, let me take a look here. And while I find that, I don't know if you have any other comments or.
Yeah, just circling back to St. Clair. I mean, just again, clap it up. I mean, class act of a program from director to coaches, everything. Again, just really, really great program. You know, it seems like a bit of a growth year potentially for them, right? Resetting, regrowing, developing some potential new talent, but they always do things the right way and they're always at the top of the pack. So whether it's this year or next, I'm sure they'll be back in the fray playing for a championship. Yeah,
absolutely. I noticed that St. Clair roster has been going through some growing pains, I believe, after Tapping had left. And I don't know who they wound up replacing him with, but I know he was like a marquee player for that roster.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so Harrisburg, I mean, they 2-0'd Constega. Let's take a look. Went 2-0 over the Ravens. Just looking over here, they did go 2-0 against Rutgers, who is a bit of a dark horse this season. I really like Rutgers. I mean, they are new to the collegiate realm, as I understand it. This looks like their first CVAL season. But just looking at some of the reps that they have in Tier 3, especially in the last Challengers Open qualifiers, they were the furthest collegiate team to go. I think they made it to top 16 or maybe a little bit higher than that. But even then, like, the Storm didn't do too bad. 13-9 first map, but then a 13-4, which is not great. But still, it like, they're a decent team, but like, not, you expect our top 10 teams to kind of be powerhouses, are going through and bulldozing everybody. So it did drop them down a little bit. And my last honorable mention, I know I've got a few of them.
No, you're good, man.
Is going to be West Virginia. West Virginia, I think, is another team that really went untested throughout the regular season, but they did jump on the UST pain train. And, you know, we call it a pain train for a reason. It wasn't the smoothest sailing, but that's a storm that not many teams can really weather. I don't think anyone's actually came out over top over those guys.
Yeah. No, but Duck and crew are super talented team over West Virginia. They have been for a while, right? And they compete not only in collegiate, but you see them sometimes in Fun Haver. You see them around. So, you know, they're competing on multiple different levels, which I always think is like a nice little feather in the cap for some of these programs. Because as we know, collegiate can be kind of a mixed bag in terms of what you're facing on a week-to-week basis. So going and taking that step outside of collegiate and trying to, you know, face down some of the big boys in Tier 3, like that shows a lot of merit and a lot of moxie, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And then they've got players who are on, who have had experience with rosters, tons of land experience across, I mean, all 5 of these players. And then guys who are coming from teams like Nightblood Gaming. I know we saw Excite out there at the ROK land, like I think early last year, and just like a lights out player. So I'm expecting big things from WVU, but it's just because of the performance throughout the regular season, it was hard for me to put them in the top 10. I really wanted to, but it was a little difficult for me personally.
Fair enough.
So with that, let's get into it. Top 10.
I'm down.
Who do you got?
Want me to go first? All right.
Go right ahead.
Funny enough, great transition. My number 10 team, West Virginia, man. I can't look past the talent on that roster. I really can't. We've played them a couple times. We played them in Fun Haver once, and unfortunately they couldn't play out map 3, so we took a win, but it was really a draw. It was 1-1. they're super talented team, man. I have nothing but good things to say about those guys. It's a shame we didn't get to play them in the regular season. I would have liked to. And if we had beaten UST, we would have, right? So it would have been a nice litmus test for us. But yeah, we talked already about West Virginia, quality program, great players.
Yeah, I mean, players that are coming with tons of experience. I mean, from rosters such as like as old as like Big Frames, Lycus Empire, Nightblood Gaming. I mean, some players that originally were on Winthrop, YFP, Accrue, like rosters that if you're in the tier 3 scene, you know, like you've been around for a while, like these guys were lights out at different points in time. So, I mean, it's a roster that you totally expect to kind of come out swinging. So yeah, I don't think that's a bad shout at all.
Gotta respect them.
Alrighty, so I got to do my number 10.
Okay.
And it's going to be controversial, but I've got the boys on Keiser.
Let's go. Yeah.
I had to. Maybe it's a little bit of personal bias, but I think the main reason for that, I think we had a strong regular season showing. And then we did jump on the UST pain train, but I think we are one of, if not the only teams who have played them the closest. I mean, UST is like a dominant roster, and I know we've been working with these guys, tons of tier 3 reps,
Sure.
you know, great showings in Premier, you know, missing invite, technical difficulties twice, but I mean, only, you know, you can only do so much about that. But yeah, I do think Keiser has potential to be much higher on the list, but just a virtue of not really facing any of these like other Goliaths that are on this list right now, especially in the collegiate realm, it's hard to put them beyond 10. But I do think the performance against UST is telling of the caliber of the players that we have and what we're building here. I mean, all 5 guys, former Radiant players, picking up Izo from Team Prosperity, who was in the Challengers League. You know, Lethal, who is consistently a top 100 Radiant player. So, I mean, we have great pieces, but I don't want to continue glazing our guys any more than we already have.
Oh, I will. I absolutely will. Look, no one knows this program better than you and I, obviously. You know, we spend nauseum hours, right, with these guys and making sure that they're up to par. And, you know, we know who they're scrimming against. We know the caliber of players they play against on a daily basis, and we know who they are, right? Sure, we haven't been tested at the top level yet, but we've had some really disappointing showings in Fun Havers, so our VLR is a little rough. But, you know, these are growing pains, and if it's one thing about these guys, they're dedicated to their craft and they put the work in. And I think they at least deserve that much. You have them at 10. I'll save my some more words for when I put them on the block. But
right. I mean,
shout out Keiser.
Yeah, absolutely. There are some accomplishments. I mean, the first in Battle for Florida, first in the
ECAC Showdown.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. You know, so the team doesn't have no accomplishments, but I think there is tons of potential there.
Number 9 is the new kids on the block, the boys at Rutgers. You're a big fan of that team. I'm a big fan of that team. They're going to make some noise. You can just see it in kind of the quality of player they have. You know, they seem to be playing with a chip on their shoulder, and I'm really excited to see what they can do, right? Kind of came out of nowhere. It's always exciting to see like new faces at the scene. And so as they continue to kind of play better and better teams through playoffs, I'm excited to see what they can do, really. This might be more of a potential pick than like actual accomplishments, because I do think they lost to somebody on their way to playoffs. I can't remember who off the top of my head, but that's a super talented roster. And really excited to see what they can put together this season.
I mean, they lost a map to Western Esports, who's like, again, another roster. It's a little bit on the unknown side.
Right.
And they did take a loss to Fisher Navy 2-1.
Happens.
But I do think that roster, like you mentioned, has tons of potential. They are also in my number 9 slot. I mean,
cool.
Like I mentioned, that qualifier, yeah, they actually went further than I thought. They went into the round 8 of the NA Open qualifiers for challengers. And they only took a loss to Reformed, who's got like several players who have been either tier 1 or tier 2 at any point in their career. We got Sean 12590,
yep.
and Jared Power Pixley. But like, you know, these guys that like, if you've been around, like, you know, the caliber of the players that they're playing against. And I mean, they came through, and, you know, 2-1 teams like Rayquaza, 2-0 team 777, like,
wow, yeah.
They have wins against like reputable tier 3 teams. Relax Reptilians, another one. I mean, these guys, while they haven't been around too long, what we have seen has been impressive, and it's really hard to kind of ignore that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, you can't fault them for losing to Fisher, right? They won't be the first. They won't be the last. But having that open qualifier run is definitely big. And Relax Reptilian 777, those, like you said, are like good reputation, like tier 3. So good on them. Shout out to the boys at Rutgers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number 8.
8.
All right. You know, another shameless plug, man. The Keiser University Seahawks. You know, if we want to talk about open qualifier runs, we went on a little one of our own, right? We unfortunately ran into Sleepers, which is the team that did qualify out of the open qualifier. And again, no one took a map off an open qualifier except the Keiser University Seahawks, right? And then we went into overtime in map 2. It's kind of similar story to what happened to us actually against UST. We won map 1. We went into overtime in map 2 and just couldn't pull it out, right? So, you know, realistically, there's a world in which we beat that team and potentially qualified for challengers as well. But, you know, again, we've already talked about our Keiser University Seahawks, but good team, great talent, puts in the work, and good coaching staff, if I do say so. So,
yeah, absolutely.
So excited to see where those guys go.
For sure. All right. So for my number 8, I've got Fisher Navy.
Fair. Totally
Fisher
fair.
Navy, I mean, they're a squad that, I mean, that's a program in its entirety that has always been like a Goliath when it comes to collegiate esports, always putting out top tier teams in like any game they compete in. Now, I will say though, Fisher Navy does have potential to be higher on this list, but they've really had like a slow run after their 2024 season. I mean, just looking at the VLR page right now, they've been doing well this season. I think they went out of groups undefeated, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure.
But after the 2024 season, they just kind of really like came to a crawl. Champs 2025, they came in, beat UST, beat St. Clair, but then took losses back to back against Maryville and Winthrop, who in their own right, like amazing team. So it's
absolutely,
you can't fault them too much. But then we take a look at like DreamHack Atlanta, taking losses to UT Dallas, a close matchup against Converse. So the roster has merit. It can be a fantastic roster. And I think like several of these players we were looking for our own roster at one point. Players like Sogo, Hune, Blast. I mean, guys that have a certain degree of pedigree within tier 3. So an excellent roster, but just the 2025 showing and going into 2026, they're looking good 2026, but 2025 it was falling short. So it's kind of hard to ignore it.
No, absolutely. I mean, Fisher is one of those story programs, like we mentioned with St. Clair, like we're going to mention with a few others. You can never count them out. You really can't. It seems like they've taken a step back in some of their placements, like as of late, but they're still a super talented team, super talented program. And like any given Sunday, to use a football term, those guys can go out and win, right? Like they can play with the big boys. They can beat the big boys. So you got to put respect on Fisher's name. So yeah, no, I agree 100%.
Yeah, right. I mean, they're no joke.
No, I mean, everyone knows Fisher, man. Like, if you're in the collegiate scene, you know Fisher.
Yeah, absolutely. And not to mention, a Call of Duty roster, Counter-Strike roster. Like, those guys are just coming in, throwing haymakers. So, if it's not this season, it's next season. They're always in the conversation.
Man. Those guys will be around. Funny enough, segue into my number 7 is Fisher Navy. So, again, shout out to the boys at Fisher. I have them a little bit higher than you, just based off that pedigree that we talked about. So I don't want to talk too much about them, but again, super quality team, and they'll definitely make some noise. They'll definitely do their thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, and moving to my number 7, I've got TAMU Maroon specifically. I mean, these guys, they're your 2024 champs roster that
last year.
But again, similar story to Fisher though. They've like had kind of like a slow showing in 2025. I mean, they had that God run in 2024, or excuse me, 2025 champs. But like after that event, it's kind of like really like slowed down. Like they really haven't seen too much from them. I mean, they've got a roster that's kind of like a mixed bag. So like you have players like KHS and Joba who have been on like tier 2 teams, and teams like Resonate, Nightblood Gaming, like very accomplished rosters and very accomplished players in their own right. But then we come into players like Noble and Naber and Aussie Frosty who have only experience in collegiate, at least to my understanding. So I think that could be like a source of some of the growing pains that we've seen. You know, I feel like if they're a roster that if Joba and KHS aren't, you know, firing on all cylinders, they have a potential to kind of fizzle out sometimes, especially against in those kind of matches that are a little bit of a battle of attrition, where they're going to go on a little bit longer. We're going to see map 3. I think that's where like players that are not as seasoned tend to struggle the most. So I think TAMU Maroon, definitely a great team in their own right, but after their champs win, it's been kind of like, it's been underwhelming. So I would love to see them get more reps, and I think they are a roster. If they were playing more events, we would see a more decorated roster, and they would probably benefit from, you know, some of their less experienced players. But I mean, that's kind of like, yeah, I don't want to really say too much more. I think they're a solid number 7. They're always in the hunt, always in the conversation. 100%. Can contend against teams like Winthrop. So, yeah, I mean, that's where I got them at.
No, I agree. I might be sleeping on TAMU. I didn't include them in my top 10 due to the loss to UST. But, you know, again, story team. They've had 2 crazy runs in champs back-to-back years. 3rd last year, won it all in 2024. So you can't put it past these guys. Like you said, they should take a couple of hits because they don't play outside of collegiate. So their VLR isn't as decorated, like you mentioned. But TAMU is full of shooters, man. Any given day, they can come out and beat whoever. So they'll be a tough team. I'm looking forward to us potentially playing them in the playoff bracket for South. And, you know, that team is definitely a dangerous one. So you got to keep an eye on them.
Yeah, for sure. Like, that's a team that if you underestimate them, you're going to be sorry about it for sure.
100%.
Alrighty, so let's hear it. Who you got your number 6?
YFP. I kid. Northwood University, right? And I say YFP because that's half of YFP's tier 2 roster, right? Super talented players. I get concerns whenever I see stuff like that. We'll mention some other programs. They're playing in tier 2, but it's disjointed, right? Some of their players are, some of their players aren't. So, you know, when you have those you know, battling interests, right? Those conflicts of interest where you have one roster you play on that's currently competing in tier 2. And sure, the core is the same. A lot of the strats and things and protocols they have will still stay the same. But you aren't practicing with all 5, right? And it really does become difficult to balance those 2 things. And I don't know how they do it. I can't speak to it. I'm not in the Northwood locker room, right? I don't know how they're dividing their time or if they cut all the stuff out, really focus on collegiate for certain aspects of the year. But, you know, they're super talented. They're basically a tier 2 team. You have to keep an eye out for them. I probably am a little lower on them than most. But, I mean, from here, it's just all hitters, man. You have to keep an eye on all of these teams. Any one of these guys can win a championship. By no means is calling someone number 6 a slap in the face. Those guys can easily win it this year. Super talented roster. I know I've said that a bajillion times already this podcast, but they really are. And it goes without saying since they're in tier 2.
Yeah, absolutely. I have Northwood a little bit higher up than you do, so I'm going to save my thoughts till the end. So I'll just jump into my number 6, and I've actually got Baker College.
Okay.
So Baker, they're a roster that if you looks can be deceiving with this roster. So if you look at the Baker College VLR page, you're going to see like some results that are kind of like, they're doing okay. They're not too bad, but if you go and take a look at their partnership with Aspire and the tier 3 reps that team has, which is, I think, 4 of the 5 members of Baker are on this roster. I mean, they're just coming in and just outright dumpstering some of these teams and events. You know, they've got great reps. Now, it is worth mentioning, though, they have had a little bit of trouble this season going through the CVAL bracket. I mean, it hasn't been 100% smooth sailing for them. I mean, they took a 2-0 loss against Maryville, which is, you know, it's Maryville. It's to be expected.
Yeah, you can't knock them.
Yeah, absolutely. But they did have some probably closer matches than they probably should have on paper. You know, 2-1 against Mizzou and then another 2-1 against MBU JV. So it's kind of like they are a good roster. They have tons of potential to be better than they are. But I just think the track record that we're seeing through CVAL now, they're not as dominant as I feel like they normally are. And I don't know what the reasoning for that is. Maybe, you know, that kind of happens with some of these tier 3 teams.
I think I might know as to why, you know, and it's nothing that's not out in the public. So I don't think I'm really like blowing the cap off of anything or putting anyone's dirty laundry out there, but those players are LFT, right? Like they're not 100% bought in, or at least that's how it looks from the outside looking in. I'm sure they're bought in and they want to win. There's no doubt they're competitors. They want to win. But I don't know if they're committed to that school, right? They're looking for teams. They're looking for opportunities. And, they're seeing what's out there. And whenever you see that, it makes you just kind of take a question mark and wonder what's going on the inside. Is it internal conflict? Is it something to do with the school? And again, I'm not here to cast shade or disparage anyone. Baker's a great program. And those players are hitters. But again, when you see the players going LFT in the middle of their CVAL season, it raises question marks.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's probably the biggest reason as to why I left him in my honorable mentions and didn't put him on there, even though, again, really good program. They obviously had that really tough series we mentioned, MBU JV, and that JV team should be MBU's varsity team. I don't know what they're doing over there, but that team is solid. Their varsity team lost to Briarcliff. We're already past MBU. Yeah, no, absolutely. Baker's a really great school, great team, and while they've struggled a little bit in groups, that's a team you have to, like you said, you can't underrate them in playoffs, man. Those guys will come in and they'll upset somebody for sure.
Absolutely. And I think that's to be said with pretty much all these top 10 teams.
100%.
I know that we might be dealing with like maybe a little bit of like senioritis coming out of players like Rice Ballin, who is, I know, on his way out.
Right.
So, and I know we've seen that even with our own rosters, right? You get to your senior year and like things start to get real. You got to start looking for jobs. You still have final exams. It's, the life is starting to kind of be creeping around the corner. So, player priority tends to change a little bit. So that could also be part of the reason for some of the woes that they've had this season. I wouldn't say lackluster performances by any means, but definitely, the struggles that we have seen, if you even call them struggles. I mean, a win is a win, right? But, a 2-0 is definitely...
Sometimes you drop a map, but...
Yeah.
When we're doing these kind of tier lists, and I think it's important to say, we're nitpicking, right? Like, we have to go through these top teams and really decipher who we think is the cream of the crop. And honestly, they all are. So now we're really just kind of going and trying to find something that we can use to bump or move people up or down, right? So that's really kind of what we're doing. It's no shade toward Baker. Fantastic team. Nothing but love for those players.
Alrighty, so now we are in the top 5.
Let's go.
What do you got?
This one's going to be controversial. I'm going to get my head bit off online for this one. But Winthrop. I have Winthrop there. I know.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, 5.
Look.
I mean, I see it. I partially understand it, but
let me let me explain my why, because this is definitely my hot take on the list, right? And we mentioned it a little bit with Northwood, right? And being a little disjointed. These guys, it's a little bit different, right? Governor and Infiltrator got moved up all the way to tier 1, right? They're playing for crew in split 1. So you have that going on, right? And then you have their tier 2 competitions because they're still playing in challengers. And they're playing with subs and that. And then you have sometimes an even different group, because I don't think Strong Tall Guy or Man, sorry if I'm butchering his name, is playing in the collegiate stuff. So like you have 3 different rosters potentially, right? You have your top 2 players playing for crew. You have most of your core and then some other guys playing in challengers. And then you have your subs and some of the rest of your core playing in collegiate. So you have all of these different groups, right? And your players are moving around. They're doing this, they're doing that. They're going to LAN for lock-ins. So it's just a lot of moving parts for Winthrop. And I do not envy their coaching staff right now. Branchies must be pulling his hair out on a regular basis because that's a lot going on. And, champagne problems, right? Because I would kill to have players in tier 1. I think we all would.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
It's not shade to Winthrop at all. It's just I don't know if they can pull it all together on short notice, and I'm sure they can. These guys are out of their mind, right? Like Infiltrators playing on crew, it speaks for itself. Infiltrator and Governor. And Governor's played in tier 1 for a long time, right? When they got him, I think me and you were both like, dang. He had been out of the scene for maybe a year, a little less, but it's coming on strong again. They're getting their opportunities. They could very easily, we could be looking back on this in 2 months and be like, damn, Gabe, you're stupid as hell. You have them at 5 and they won it all. But it's just again, we're nitpicking. And I'm trying to find reasons as to move people up or down. And that program, while outside of Maryville, is the most established, the best performing, and just the best overall. If it was just in a box, they're number 2, right? Because you have to put Maryville 1. Spoiler alert. Um,
Yeah, I mean, come on. Who
but
are we
like,
kidding?
yeah, right. So, but that's really why I have them here at 5, right? So, shout out to those guys. They're the goats, right? Like, by no means am I looking forward to playing them in the South playoff if we get there. That's going to be a bloodbath.
Yeah, absolutely.
But those dudes are hitters, and looking forward to see what they do. And I know 5 is crazy, but I hope it's understandable as to why.
No, I don't think you're too crazy. I'm not too far off where I got them on the list. I mean, they everyone knows they're going to be in the top 5, right? Like that's definitely a given. But I'll save my thoughts for them, and let's talk about Northwood again. So Northwood, I got at my number 5.
Nice.
So, like you mentioned, I mean, it's kind of hard to ignore the talent on that roster. They have both players from YFP and SAD Esports. That they're a team that's like, they on their own individual talent, like they're insane. I mean, all these guys, players like Darkus and Ferbsa, who have been in CVAL for a while and have just gone on god runs. But the story has kind of changed from those previous seasons, right? Like now we're in challengers. Both these teams are performing well, both YFP and SAD. I think both actually qualified for challengers playoffs for this stage. But it begs the question of how focused are they on their CVAL matches? I know it's really hard to, focus all the plays for one team, especially at a high level like that. Now trying to do it for a collegiate team as well. Like, I don't think things are going to fall through the cracks. That's a lot to juggle for a player on top of staying on top of your classes, family life. I'm sure some of these guys are probably working as well. That's a lot to manage. So it begs the question of how focused are they on their CVAL matches? You can't fault them. I mean, they're in challengers and they're all top contenders in challengers. So it's by no means an upsetting thing. They're like, oh, their CVAL team isn't doing too crazy. Yeah, look at all these other stuff these guys got going on. I mean, looking at their CVAL performance this season, I mean, I don't even think they've had any rough performances or any matchups. I mean, wow, I can't believe they lost that. I think they actually went through undefeated, which is to be expected.
100%.
But again, I think they're a team that they didn't really play any team that was kind of a brutal matchup for them. I'm just looking through here. I mean, CSP is probably the hardest game that they had this season. But
they play, gosh, who's up there? MBU's JV team or Rutgers? Are they in North or East actually?
They are in North.
So
but
MBU JV would potentially be one, and then I forget who else is up there.
They had matchups again. So Northwood went up against Augustana, ran week 1. Then they went up to Kansas week 2.
ETA.
And then we see MST week 3. Week 4, we've got a matchup versus Esports Association of Dearborn. And then week 5, we've got CSP. So
CSP
none of these other 10, none of these other top 10 teams they really had to face off with, or even our honorable mentions for that matter. Even though there is a plethora of talent within that region. So I think that they got a little lucky with that one. But again, we're talking about 4 or 5 playoff challenger level players. It's they're going to do well. They're going to win most of their games, but you'd like to see them, fight for it a little bit, right?
Yeah, 100%. Again, we're nitpicking, so seeing those runs like UST has, where they're just collecting infinity stones, right? They're taking names. That means something. And while obviously those guys are top tier players, challenger level players, it's always good to see, like you said, if you're tested and proven, it's nice to see that on the way to CVAL.
Yeah, it's just I think it's just the reality of the nature of collegiate Valorant right now. As we get up to these higher teams and as time goes on, we're going to see more of these teams and players trying to juggle their challengers teams, their amateur aspirations, and their collegiate teams as well. I mean, I don't think that's anything that we can really escape from until CVAL or collegiate Valorant in general. It kind of absorbs challengers, which I think we might be, still quite a few years off. But until then, this is just this is the narrative that we have.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, to touch on that point, I know it's off topic. I mean, we are getting there. That's not NRG Academy is Maryville, right?
Yep.
And Winthrop's been there now for a while, and YFP is basically Northwood. So, like, these things are happening. It's just kind of waiting for that shoe to potentially ever drop if it does. But awesome. Good stuff. You want to go on to 4?
Yeah, let's do it. So number 4, I've got Winthrop. And honestly, for a lot of the same reasons that you mentioned, I mean, that roster has been in like total flux, I think, the entire season. Challenger roster is different. A lot of their core pieces moved up to VCT, are now playing collegiate again, but are not playing challengers. And you're seeing the symptoms of it. Like if you look at collegiate, if you look at challengers, like kind of lackluster performances from this roster. And the only reason I even dare to use that term is because it's Winthrop, baby. Like these guys are shooters.
They're them,
like,
bro. They're them.
Yeah, like you expect these guys to kind of go through and trounce everybody. But I did think they took some unfortunate losses throughout the season. If I can
They lost to UST, I know, in CVAL. Even though it was like week 1. I think they literally played week 1, which is insane that that's a week 1 matchup. To be on a fly in the wall in UST's locker room when they get placed in the bottom seed. But yeah, man, just while you're looking stuff up in terms of their performances, you can't say enough good things about them. I mean, like you said, the only reason we're even calling these things disappointing or lackluster is because they're the GOATs. Like they're literally the GOATs. They're the program we aspire to be like, right? We want to qualify for tier 2. We want to do all these things. We want to send people to tier 1. So to see them kind of stumbling only due to the fact that they're champagne problems again, that they have players competing on the highest level, it is what it is. And honestly, it's problems that I think most college programs would aspire to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're taking, we're looking at their regular season here. They took the loss against UST. So, but like UST is just still like another fantastic roster. I mean, yeah, it's the pain train. 2024 runners up. So, I mean, you know these guys are coming out shooting. And again, another roster full of accomplished challengers players. But then you see the loss during week 5 against NC State. And that's another one that's kind of like raising eyebrows. Like, wow, like NC State's a decent squad. Don't get me wrong, but Winthrop, look, really? So it's kind of like it's really hard to put them in that top 3. I think if we're talking about the Winthrop from last year, roster issues or roster flux aside, I think we'd be talking about them number 1 or number 2, but that's just not 100%. Where we're at right now. Yeah. Again, like you mentioned, champagne problems. I mean, suffering from success. So, I mean, they could have bigger issues. So that's going to be my number 4.
Awesome. Yeah, my number 4 is a team we're familiar with, the team that bounced us from the playoff bracket last year, UCI Irvine. Great program. Look, like we really don't need to go too deep into it, but we will. They knocked us out last year. They finished 13th last year, and they got better, dude. They got better. They added Cook and Dogo. I forget how to pronounce his name exactly, but really high-level Radiant players. I know when they got added, our team was even like, yo, they got those guys? They got hitters, man. Like, yeah, those dudes are no joke. And, they're seeing the benefits of it. I think they did lose the one team, which I'm not going to spoil that because I'm going to talk about them a little bit here soon. But, yeah, really, really good program. I think they're one of the teams, and I don't want to speak incorrectly, but I want to say, like us, they may be one of our NZXT brethren. So shout out to them. But always gotta show love. Always gotta show love. Look, man, those are our boys over there. So, again, can't say enough about those guys. They're doing what they need to do. They got better. They are already a good team, and they're putting in performances that are notable. We talked about open qualifiers earlier. I think they also went on a little bit of a run there. And they've been playing in a good bit of Fun Haver and other tier 3 events. So they've been playing, they've been practicing, they're putting in the time. I'm really interested to see what those guys do in the playoff bracket this year because I know they'll qualify. Yeah, I mean, they're a lights out roster. And I mean, that's a perfect segue because they're my number 3. So, I mean, UCI, I mean, they've got, I mean, we're getting it. We're in the territory of like, I mean, we've been in the territory we went through, but even more so now. I mean, we've got Ethos, former NRG player on that roster now. Adder, who's had tons and tons. Too. Yeah, they've got tons and tons of experience in tier 2. Lacey, who is, been playing tons of GC, had a lot of success in the GC route. And then they're just like surrounded with like top tier Radiant players. So like they are a scary
very scary roster. I mean, I know when we played them last year, it's like, okay, like we just got completely blindsided. And then you look at it, like who's joining in, who's connecting to the server. You're like, oh, okay. But yeah, I mean, these guys, I think they've had a pretty like smooth sailing throughout the regular season. Just looking through here, I mean, they kind of bulldozed their way through the Western Conference, but did take one loss to, I'm assuming, a team that you're going to bring up here in a minute. But they did take a loss 2-1. And looking at that matchup, it was a close match, but super. I mean, we did get into that last match, and it's a 13-5. It's like, ooh, I mean, not ideal. So definitely have potential to be like much higher on those lists, but we're in the top 3 already. So it's like every little nuance is going to be taken into account here. Yeah. So, I mean, let's hear it. Who you got for number 3?
Yeah, the only team that University of California Irvine lost to was University of California San Diego. Funny enough, right? And I probably have them a little high for most people's taste because those guys came out of left field, man. But I'm one who believes in, you gotta, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. And they took a head for sure. And, you might call it an upset. You might call them unproven. You might still believe that UCI is a better program. Whatever you want to say, sure. But UCSD did it, right? They beat them. They collected that. They took the number 1 spot in the West, which may be kind of a weaker region outside of those 2 teams, but still, right? Like that's impressive. That, garners attention. And realistically, if they can beat those guys again, they'll be looking at a top 4 seed going into the playoff bracket. We really can't understate those kind of things. So I'm high on that team. I think I haven't had a chance to really go back and watch any of the VOD from their competition, if they have any out there. But I really do want to see those guys play because to pull off that kind of an upset is something that can't be understated. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have personally UCSD in my top 10 ranking, but I mean, I can totally see what you're saying. I mean, I think any team that's, taking out UC Irvine is like definitely in the conversation. I mean, they're already on to, playoffs round 2. I mean, right. They 2-0'd UCSB. So it's, I don't fault you, but I do want to also call attention to something you did bring up. The Western Conference really is like, it's probably by far the weakest conference in CVAL. I mean, and I don't know if that's because of the partnered leagues.
And let's be clear, that's a new thing because that was a meat grinder last season, right? USC was really good. There were a bunch of good teams out there, and it seems like they've taken a step back a little bit in competitive viability. But yeah, sorry to cut you off, but
no, you're good. I mean, I was gonna say is like I think it's probably a symptom a lot of the partnered leagues that they have going on, partnerships with there's all these different qualifiers now, ECAC, NECC, Sunbelt, like they're Midwest, all over the place. Yeah, so it's kind of diluted some of the performances that you see in CVAL because, not everybody's playing those leagues. And let's be real. I mean, even when we did it with ECAC last CVAL, you look at the teams who's playing in these qualifiers. Oh, like we could beat these teams. Let's take an easier path. So it's kind of like, it kind of cheapens it. In my opinion, it kind of cheapens it a little bit. It's like, you took the easy way. Like, of course you're going to, you took the easier route. Like, of course.
Again, this is coming from a program who decided to do that last year. Yeah, so we're saying from our own train of thought like that. And you can't knock it, right? I think a few teams that are really notable. I don't think we've talked about Cumberland. Have we?
No, we haven't talked about. There's tons of teams that are participating in CVAL this season that are going through those partner leagues that I just couldn't put in my top 10 personally or my honorable mentions because they're playing a lot of teams that are not that great. Now, when we come into champs, that might be a different story. I got Cumberland in the conversation. I got Columbia in the conversation.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, like there's a lot of we got Missouri Baptist's main roster. Like we touched on them a little bit. So there's a lot of rosters that are still should be in this conversation, but just by virtue of taking the lesser path, in my opinion, it's really hard for me to put them up there. But yeah, so why don't we jump into our number 2 slot?
All right, I think we'll probably share a train of thought here. We'll move through these guys because we've talked about them almost ad nauseum already. It is the UST Pain Train. Shout out our boys over there. Really talented program, really talented team. It's kind of their last dance, right? I think that program's dealing with some struggles. I don't know if they're going to be around this time next year. So this is the chance for that team to go out with a bang, and they are doing it, man. They are collecting. They're just collecting programs. They beat Winthrop, beat TAMU, beat us, beat VVT, or I guess that was a forfeit, so that doesn't quite count. But and I forget who their fifth win was too, but West Virginia. Like they're just it's bang, 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 bang. All teams that we've talked about in this podcast, all of them are championship level teams, and they've come out unscathed, unfazed, unbothered. So you got to tip your hats to them. You got to recognize the success they're having, and really, like, they're scary, man. They're really scary. And as a team that's in the South, you know, I want my salty get back, but like they're a scary team.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely you see them coming, and you're like, great. It's, I mean, but this is a roster again, like tons of tier 2 talent on there. I mean, Zowie, who's playing, or Howie, I'm probably butchering his name, playing in LATAM Challengers, Noted and Kumi, who are playing for Core, who just won Challengers this last stage. Right. So I mean, like, and Core Sonics and Son of Car, who have been around for like a fat minute, and tons of reps and tons of accolades under these guys' belts as well. So it's like, it's to be expected. It's a shame that the program is kind of like in the position it is, but that's just kind of the reality of like collegiate esports sometimes. Like sometimes these programs kind of come and go. But yeah, UST is just I mean, they were runners up in 2024. They were top 8 last season. Like they're a roster that like they're just blowing through everybody. I mean, looking at the WVU game, like they dropped the map to WVU, but then you look at map 2 and 3, it's WVU getting 2 rounds and 4 rounds. It's like, what? It's not only the fact that they're beating all these teams, it's the fashion in which they're doing it. It's it's a cakewalk for these guys. And I mean, I don't know what they're doing at CVAL, but the fact that these guys came into the regular season as the 30th seed is mind-boggling.
It's illegal.
I don't know.
It's absolutely illegal. I know we had reached out to Corsonics, I think we have some ties with. We reached out there, but like, what the hell's going on, man? Did you guys lose some people? Like, talk to us, Goose. And, you know, he's just like, no, bro. They just cooked us. They said one of our players are silver. It's a Radiant player. I don't know what they're smoking. So, you know, like, it is what it is. But they had the hardest path out of any team in CVAL and did it with, like, with ease, did it with style, man. Yeah. For all intents and purposes, like they should be, if it wasn't for like legacy and the fact of the next team we're going to mention just being overwhelmingly the best, then they would probably be number 1. If we were going strictly on strength of schedule, they are number 1.
Yeah, I think it calls out some of the issues that you see with not only with CVAL but just like collegiate leagues in general. Like sometimes we're looking at the wrong things. Like a lot of these guys, if anybody watching this has done amateur, you know that like once you get into the throes of scrimming and playing your events and watching VOD and looking at the playbooks, you really don't want to play ranked all that much. So like to base seeding solely off rank and like not even something at like the division your team is in for Premier or like previous experiences in CVAL,
or any of those
there's tons of data out there. So that I think that's a little bit of a shortcoming. But let's not beat up on CVAL anymore. You know, I'm sure they know at this point.
Shout out to them and thank you for hosting the event. Like again, it's not any shade thrown toward them. It's just how it happened, right? It was a glitch in the matrix. It was what it was. But yeah, man, UST, dangerous program. What's your number 2, Roman?
I mean, that's my UST. That's UST. That's my number 2 right there. I mean, I think these guys have potential to win it all. Absolutely. I mean, they faced off against our number 1 a few times, and some mixed results. You know, they've got blown out, but they've also had some maps really close. So it's I mean, but it's. Do we even need to allude to it anymore? I mean, it's Maryville.
Maryville.
It's Maryville. It's NRG Academy. Like, come on, come on. How can he can't keep getting away with it? Like, it's just Maryville is just one of those programs that if you've been around in collegiate or even aware of collegiate in both Valorant and League of Legends, you know about this program.
Overwatch too. They used to be partnered with Luminosity, bro.
Yeah,
Maryville makes other collegiate programs punch air because they're just so damn good. And like, yeah, oh, they're glazing Maryville. Yeah, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you. If you're in the collegiate space, if you work in collegiate, if you play in collegiate, that's the pinnacle. Those are the top team right there.
Yeah,
I mean, their program is unbelievable. Their Valorant team's unbelievable. Their Overwatch team used to be head and shoulders above the rest. Like, they are scary by every definition of the word.
It's just wild to me that looking at like the collegiate like rankings, right? You have your number 2 here, and then you got number 1 like way like they're not even in the screen anymore. And it's just, I mean, like looking at even at their like we're not even talking about CVAL performance anymore. We have to go look at challengers, and they're 4-3 in the regular season, and then they made it to round 2 playoffs. I mean, like we can't do anything about it.
It's both upsetting and inspiring, right? Because it's upsetting because, you know, like that's the beast you have to fight at the end, right? That's the Goliath. If, you know, say in a perfect world, my mouth to God's ears, Keiser goes on a historic run and we somehow make it to the champs. Then we got to stare down them. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, like it's brutal.
It's brutal. But again, it's something that you just have to recognize, right? Like, they are the best.
Yeah, I mean,
they put in the work. They do what they got to do. They're very clean about how they work. And, you know, the results speak for themselves. You don't get to where you're at just by walking in casually and saying, hey, let's have fun.
Yeah, there's just tons of pedigree on this team. And players like Renz, Ainge, Clark, Giza, all these guys. Like, all these guys have tons of experience. I remember when Renz was running amok in Counter-Strike for a while. Or just like, it's like, who the heck is this guy? Ainge, same thing with Ainge, you know, playing in ESEA Advanced forever ago. I mean, like these guys are like just, you know, insane
Shout
players.
Out Wildfire, just streaming at the facility, not even on the roster, right? They have a dude like that just chilling.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's wild. It's I mean, no pun intended, but I mean, when you got guys like Wildfire who, like, in their own right are like top collegiate players, you're just like, take a break, go stream. It's like, we're still going to win it all. It's like, what's going on? I mean, they're winning DreamHack Atlanta. They're like, and what I can respect about this team is not only the pedigree of the players, but the grind. Like, they are so like loyal to the grind, and they're really about the culture, which is like, I absolutely love that about the Maryville program, because not only are they playing CVAL, not only are they playing challengers, they're going to lands, they're playing fun havers. Like, they're just getting their reps. And like, that's something I feel like we don't see a lot of in 100%. Both collegiate and amateur play as well. It's just like doing things for the culture. It's just like getting the reps and hitting the grind just because like you want to be the best. And that takes a lot of hard work. And you know what? The beautiful thing about esports is God-given talent and, you know, like potential. Yeah, they matter. But like at the end of the day, like it's about who outworks who. Like, if you're not out here grinding, you're not on the game, and you're not watching VOD or learning from the pros and evolving, someone's going to pass you. And I love that about the Maryville program, is that they're aware of that fact, that if we stop working, we let up for a minute, we're going to get eclipsed. And that's not
Everyone's getting better every day. And if we're not the ones getting better than them, then we're doing something wrong. And so shout out Maryville, man. You know, that is the pinnacle of success right now. Our 2025 champions, and hopefully one of us, whether it's, you know, Winthrop or UST or maybe even Keiser, Rutgers, Virginia, who knows? Any of these teams we talked about, maybe someone can knock them off, but until they do, those guys are number one.
But we got to talk. Like, maybe there's some of these like schools that we can partner up and make like some sort of super. We got to figure this out, man. Like, for real, we got to figure this out. Maybe at the LAN, you know, someone rough them up in the parking lot or something. Like something. We got to nerf these guys. We got to do something.
Unbelievable.
But all jokes.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's it for me. That's my top 10.
Mine as well. And special thanks to College Esports News for letting us do this. This has been a pleasure. Obviously, me and you have a lot of chats like this in private, and but it's nice to get out and actually, talk about what's happening, talk about all the great things that Collegiate Esports is offering. So a shout out again to College Esports News. Yeah,
they're a fantastic addition to like the esports community, and something that's like, I mean, if you guys have seen me on Twitter, by the way, you can find me on Twitter at _SLIM_FPS. Make sure to drop me a follow. But if you've seen any of my tweets, you already know that I bellyache about that constantly, about how there's no coverage and no one's talking about anything. And I'm always giving my flowers.
So many different leagues. It's impossible to follow everything. So yeah, we need people like College Esports News. We really, really do.
Yeah, so make sure you guys do every like, every follow, every comment helps. Make sure to show these guys some love, give them their flowers, because they're one of those things that, like, if you don't appreciate them while they're here, you're gonna really hate it when they're gone. So, we're happy to have you guys, and thank you for having us on.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for having us.